surrender. On the contrary, retreat guarantees that the Islamic militants will intensify their efforts against us. All we need to do is focus on bin Laden's own words. In his 1996 declaration of jihad and other statements that he made, he repeatedly pointed to America's weakness being its low threshold for pain. As evidence, bin Laden pointed to the U.S. withdrawal from Somalia in 1993 because of casualties from the attacks of al-Qaeda and its allies. Bin Laden said of our retreat from Mogadishu, the extent of your impotence and weakness became very clear. Bin Laden and the global Islamic militant network continues to test our resolve throughout the 90s and to today. They launched multiple attacks against U.S. targets with little response on our part. Then came the deplorable attacks on 9/11. But they won't stop there, Mr. Speaker. They won't stop in Iraq. They won't stop in Afghanistan. They have made it abundantly clear that they will not stop until they dominate the world. Just listen to the words of bin Laden. He says, the jihad in Palestine, referring to the attacks against Israel, and in Iraq is a personal duty incumbent upon the residents of the two countries alone. But if they are unable to carry it out, this duty is incumbent upon the residents of the adjacent countries, and so on and so forth, until the circle includes all the Muslim countries. And to focus on what al-Qaeda leader al-Zawahiri said in December of last year, just a few months ago, Iraq, Allah permitting, is the gateway to the liberation of the Palestine area and the restoration of the Islamic Caliphate. Or those of Iran's Ahmadinejad, when he said in January of this year, we must prepare ourselves to rule the world. This follows statements made in October of 2005 when Ahmadinejad said, undoubtedly, I say that we will soon experience a world without the United States and will breathe in the brilliant time of Islamic sovereignty over today's world. It is echoed by other Iranian leaders who have threatened the U.S. and moderate Arab governments, saying that anyone who recognizes Israel will burn in the fire of the Islamic nations. They will burn in their fury, and who have expressed their commitment to bringing America to its knees. The Islamic militant extremist network have proven time and time again that this is not mere rhetoric. U.S. allies in the Middle East understand this reality. They understand the critical role that Iraq plays in the global war against Islamic militant extremists. For example, Jordan's King Abdullah, a courageous leader who continues to demonstrate his country and his people's commitment to peace, to security, and to democratic reform, summarized the situation we are facing in the following way. He said, my concern is political, revolving around Iran, around Iran's political involvement inside Iraq, its relation with Syria and Hezbollah, and the strengthening of this political strategic alliance. This would create a scenario where you have these four: Iran, Iraq, influenced by Iraq, Syria, Hezbollah, who have a strategic objective that would create a major conflict. Our argument to the United States, he continues, is that a capable, independent, secure Iraq is the best way of containing Iran. The Iranians realize that the way to have success against the West is by them succeeding in Iraq. So Iraq is the battleground of the West against Iran. These are the words of our ally, King Abdullah of Jordan. Yet some of our colleagues choose to believe that one can reason with our enemies. Since this resolution provides no concrete alternative, some have expressed support for new diplomatic initiatives. However, I must ask my colleagues, with whom? Do they propose engaging with rogue regimes such as Iran and Syria? These rogue regimes are part of the problem, not part of the solution. Some of our colleagues may say that diplomatic engagement is the key to our success. But I asked them, how are we to engage our allies in the region to help foster security and reconciliation in Iraq if by our withdrawal and surrender we leave them to fend for themselves against enemies in the region who have been strengthened by our retreat? How is diplomacy to be effective in such an abstract context? We cannot expect to achieve success if we are operating from a position of weakness. The so-called diplomatic alternative offered by some is no alternative at all. The resolution before us and the bills that have been introduced is a compelling argument, they believe, for a withdrawal from Iraq, but it adds to a policy of surrender. Some may try to hide that fact by constantly repeating the empty words that they support the troops. But supporting our troops cannot be reconciled by refusing them the reinforcements that they need or with the retreat in the face of the enemy. The hopelessness with which these measures spring is alien to our American spirit. That spirit has sustained us through many dark times, Mr. Speaker, throughout our history. This hopeful spirit springs directly from the hearts of the American people who have never given up faith in their belief, in their country, in their sons and daughters in uniform facing our enemies overseas. Mr. Speaker, at the beginning of our revolution over 2 centuries ago, when our country faced almost impossible odds and many counseled for retreat, Thomas Paine summoned forth the words that apply directly to the debate in this chamber when he said, "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and the thanks of every man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph." Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues, therefore, to reject this resolution, and I thank you.